Good afternoon and welcome to this discussion on the EEEI Remote Learning Curriculum in Midyear 2021. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to switch to remote learning last year. So we all had to adjust to this new environment of working from home or learning from home, which for most may not be ideal. What we know for now is that first sem of 2021-2022 will still be delivered remotely, but the second semester would possibly be still the same, and actually it is still uncertain when we will be able to shift back to face-to-face learning. So when we welcomed you to EEEI, when you entered UP, you were given this BOR approved checklist. It is an 8-semester program with an average of 18 units per semester and a total of 145 units. Please note that for the rest of this presentation, what will be presented would be the checklist for the BS School E. But as we all know, the first 5 semesters of the program of electrical engineering, computer engineering, and electronics engineering are all the same. You just start your specialization courses once you reach third year, second semester. So for example, if you are a BSECE student, this would just be replaced by ECE 161, ECE 163, ECE 164, and so on. So I hope you also have your curriculum flowchart. Although the information may seem to be redundant with your checklist, this one gives you a visual of how the prerequisite chain looks like. For example, on your last semester, you have your final year project. The prerequisite of this is 196, which also has a prerequisite of 192, which again has a prerequisite of 158. So you will be able to see how delaying or moving one subject could affect the rest of the subjects down the line. So last year we released version 1 of our remote learning curriculum. As mentioned, we were adjusting to the remote learning setup. Our study environment are non-ideal, and therefore um, we had to set a lower cap on the semestral load. So when we released version 1, the cap that we set was 17 units. So for first year, for example, instead of having 18 units, this was really reduced to 15 units, and the extra units were moved to mid-year. For the second year, instead of having 20 units, it was reduced to 17. This time, EEE 135 from the first semester and EEE 145 from the second semester were moved to the mid-year. And this is how the third year and the fourth year checklist looked like. After having gone through remote learning for one semester, we observed that 17 units is still too heavy and 15 units is even barely manageable. So last semester, we actually further reduced the semestral cap to 15 units. And having gone through 2 consecutive semesters of full load, um, the students or even the faculty may want to have some break. And the mid-year is actually the good time for this before starting another school year. For those with backlog requirements or incompletes, the mid-year can also be used to catch up on this requirements. So we revisited the remote learning curriculum, and now we are presenting version 2 of the remote learning curriculum. So the main thing that we tried to address in this version is that we want to avoid offering triple E courses in the mid-year so that the student may have the option not to take mid-year classes and instead use that time to probably take a break or catch up on backlog requirements. To also avoid overloading the faculty, we try to avoid offering courses in consecutive semesters. Okay? And then after some review, we set the semestral load to 16 units max. That would be something like 15 units lecture with an additional 1 unit lab, which by design is supposed to complement the core requisite lecture courses. Okay, so this is now version 2 of our remote learning curriculum. The first year is still the same as version 1. For the second year, we apply the 16 units cap, and therefore instead of having 17 units, we now have 14 units. Previously, 135 and 145 were scheduled for the mid-year. This time, we replaced them with the GE that we removed from the first and second semesters. And now 135 and 145 were moved to regular semesters. So 145 is moved to third year first sem, while 135 is third year second sem. Okay. Then to accommodate this move, 115X subject is moved to from third year to fourth year first semester. So for BS COE and BS ECE, this is 155, which is power systems. For BSEE, since they would need 155 in their specialization courses, this one is swapped with 157. So it is 157 which is moved to the fourth year. Okay, then if we add all the units in scheduled for the mid-year, that's a total of 27 units. So those students who would opt not to take mid-year can actually simply move these GE courses to the fifth year. So just to summarize the changes that we have from version 1 to version 2, we changed the semestral cap to 16 units instead of 17. We have a 12 to 16 unit regular load instead of 15 to 18. So for next semester, this assumption still holds. Then 135 and 145, which were scheduled for the mid-year of year 2, are now moved to year 3 regular semester. And then 115X course, that's 155 for ECE and COE, and 157 for BSEE, is moved from year 3 first sem to year 4 first sem. Okay, so those are the changes from version 1 to version 2. So what does this version 2 mean to you as current students? So for freshmen, if we look at the checklist of version 1 and checklist of version 2, they are actually the same. So the freshmen will now be following version 2. For the sophomores, the first year was pre-pandemic. Second year first sem had a 17 unit cap, while the second semester had a 15 unit cap. So 1 GE was removed, and they are scheduled to take 135 and 145 this mid-year. Okay, so for students who would opt not to take mid-year classes, they can take 145 on the first semester and 135 on the second semester of the following school year, which means that they will be following version 2. While those who would be taking 135 and 145 would be following version 1. Third year and fourth year would be um, version 1, except that we apply the 16 units cap, which means that we move some subjects to the mid-year. Then finally, for the juniors, the current third years going to fourth year, first 2 years were pre-pandemic. So you would have finished 73 out of the 145 units in the curriculum. This year, following version 1, you had 16 units in the first semester, 15 units in the second semester. So this essentially is version 1, applying the 16 units cap for each semester. If you do not have deferred grades, drop, incompletes, then it's possible that you applied for overload last semester, taking 18 units, and therefore this would now be just 3 units. The same rule will apply next semester. So if you're up to it and you do not have any pending grades or incompletes for the last 2 semesters, then you can also take 17 units next semester. And similarly, on the last semester, since you're graduating, you're allowed to do an overload. So essentially, it's the original version 1. Yep, so that's essentially what would happen to existing students. Of course, the incoming freshmen would be given the version 2 of our checklist. Okay, so just to summarize, um, the cap that we are following for version 2 is 16 units. Again, we are constantly revisiting this remote learning curriculum. So if the circumstances change, for example, if we are able to shift to face-to-face learning, then we can adjust this cap. Current freshmen would be following version 2. Sophomores who would opt not to take 135 and 145 this mid-year may do so and follow version 2, while the rest of the new curriculum students will be following version 1, possibly a revised version, applying the 16 units cap. Okay, then finally, what about mid-year? So mid-year will start in July. Regular registration is July 1 and 2. Okay, so again, as we have mentioned in the previous slides, enlistment or enrollment in the mid-year is still optional. That is if you are willing to move those supposed GE courses from mid-year to the additional fifth year. Okay. Maximum units for this mid-year is 6 units, okay, for EEEI. Notice that we also included here that it is subject to evaluation of the advisor. So if you plan to take mid-year classes this mid-year, please please inform your advisor so that your advisor can at least assess how you were able to if you were able to if you're able to actually take on 6 units. For meritorious cases, students may also be allowed to enlist more than 6 units. For example, those who are graduating this mid-year term, um, of course, for now, that would just be the old curriculum students. They may discuss it with their advisor and apply for overload. For those without pending grades, drop or unresolved incomplete in previous 2 semesters, and feel that you can take on more than 16 units, you may also request for an overload, of course, with the endorsement of your advisor. Okay, so that's the end of this presentation. Thank you for your time. For feedback on the version 2 of our remote learning curriculum, please fill out the feedback form at https://tinyurl.com EEEI remote CURR, which is a shortcut for curriculum feedback. So it's EEEI remote CURR feedback. Or for other concerns, you may also email DDAP, that's Deputy Director for Academic Programs, at eee.upd.edu.ph.